So does that mean,
That's just the wee thing for comments.
Hello and welcome to Future Simple Friday Live. And I didn't realise we were already live because we're now on YouTube doing it slightly differently to how we did last week. And I couldn't tell if the little box at the side was the chat or if you can actually see everyone here. So anyway, my name is Lucinda Bray. I am founder of Future Simple. We are a marketing consultancy focused on keeping things as simple as possible. This is Adam, our assistant marketing consultant. And today we have our first ever guest, Nick Murray from Adopt an Intern. So I will hand over to Nick so he can do a bit of spiel.
Thank you for having me, folks. It's great to be here and to be your very first guest, your inaugural guest. So I am Nick Murray. I am the marketing and communications lead from Adopt an Intern, and we are a not-for-profit organisation specialising in socially driven graduate employment. And we've worked with 900 employers, including Lucinda here, and we have helped place nearly 1,500 awesome graduates, postgraduates and returners, including Adam here. So
we're like a live case today.
Absolutely.
It's just awesome.
And thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Cool. You're really just the test.
Okay.
Yeah, the beta. Yeah.
We're gonna get some.
No pressure.
So, cracking through. So, what we do, we have some key questions relating to the values of what we do at Future Simple, some of the things that we do, research for our clients, and we often find the weirdest facts out, and we're also really, really wanting to promote positive attitudes to mental health, so that's in there as well. So I'm just going to shuffle the questions up, and this time I did prepare the timer, but now my phone's gone to sleep, and I since went on to something else. So 10 minutes, shuffle the cards. Right, guests first.
Go for it.
So, how has your mental health been this week? It's an interesting question. I've had quite a busy week, and I've not been particularly good at looking after myself. But as you guys know, we were a big part of the Startup Summit, which was this week on Wednesday. We were exhibiting, we were partnering, my boss was talking, I helped out running a workshop, and we sponsored the Startup Summit competition for Silicon Valley. So a ton of work went into all that, and I thought, for Thursday, right, I've done my time, I'm just gonna have a day off. And it wasn't part of my annual leave, it was just part of a bit of an exhalation, a work exhalation. So I slept, I went and did body balance, which is a mixture of Tai Chi, yoga and Pilates. And I just looked after myself and said, look, I don't want to get all flustered on a Thursday. And then today it's been quite an easy day so far talking to you guys. So my mental health has been good this week. It's something that in a small team, I think is quite easy to neglect because there's always water trickling into a new box. So you think like this box is full and it's done, but there's water going into the next box, and it's quite easy not to see the wood for the forest or the forest for the wood, the trees.
The wood for the trees?
Something like that. That's how confusing it can be sometimes, is you don't know where you are.
There's a lot of analogies in there.
Yeah.
Water, wood through trees.
You're going to get that with me, and anyone that knows me knows that I do like to mix a metaphor, but yeah, it's something I think we should all try a bit harder to do, and I know that you guys do excellent work in that space, so that's me.
Aye.
Good, brilliant start.
Right, go on then. Let you go next.
Okay. Word of the week. Oh, gosh. One of my friends came up with the word mendacious, which basically means, because I had to ask, it was to do with being ferocious and vicious.
And is that a real word?
Yeah.
So it's in the dictionary.
Mendacious. So mendacious. Mendacious. And it means
you could be in the spelling bee. That's
vicious and stuff. Yeah, there you go. Fact of the day, Adam's good at spelling. Yeah, so he used that while we were playing a game of FIFA. Because I am vicious and unforgiving at that game. Yeah, mendacious, word of the week.
And has that got something to do with gender politics? It's got men as part of it.
I was thinking that as well. I was like,
that's a conversation altogether, yeah.
Yeah.
Origin of words, that's next week's.
Etymology. I do love a bit of etymology.
Well, yeah, I had a good conversation with someone the other day about a word and how that was gendered, and it was a charisma. And she was saying that men can be charismatic, but you don't maybe describe women as charismatic. Perhaps they are more dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you wouldn't describe a man as dynamic. as well. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
How
The-
words
the-
are much
How
judged.
they're not specifically
Yeah.
gendered like that, felt.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then
Yeah.
that trickles through to marketing and all that as well, because you've got the body wash sort of argument of like you've got men's wash that's marketed as like power or something like that, and you've got women's
Lynx
that's like
power.
pregnant or something like that. So it's all
Yeah.
we could talk about that all day.
Yeah, totally. But anyway, moving on. Learning of the week. Learning of the week. What have I learned this week? Okay, this is totally off the boil and nothing to do with work. But I have learned that pumpkins, because it was Halloween, go off really quickly. So we carved our pumpkin on Sunday this week for my son because he's 2, so he needed to get involved. And by Wednesday, it was like crinkly and wrinkly. And you thinking, sort of missed the boat there on Halloween.
Yeah, you can't do it too early.
No, I needed to be. But never mind, that's my slightly lame learning of the week.
That's good. How have you looked after yourself this week?
Oh, you're getting all
I've already answered that.
You have. Do you want a second one?
Yeah, I'll take a new one. Jargon term, abbreviation you struggle to avoid. Okay, so I'm a one-man marketing force in my team, and I try to avoid jargon as much as possible because nobody wants to hear it. But one term that can't be avoided is engagement, and it's nothing to do with marriage. It's to do with people getting on board with what you're doing and what you're saying, and it's something we all want, but it's quite hard to measure cross-platform sometimes. So impressions on Twitter don't necessarily mean engagement, but what they do mean is perhaps brand recognition on your things for customers at touch points. So it's tricky for us at Adopted Intern. We have such a huge audience of businesses and such a huge audience of graduates, but all of these things are always cyclical and they always turn over. So for us to keep our engagement up, we always have to try new ways to attract new businesses and to maintain a good relationship with universities and graduates and job seekers from all backgrounds. So it means that all of my copy, all of my marketing materials and messages have to be quite diverse, especially with some new projects that we've got coming up. So engagement is always on the tip of my tongue, but it's a very difficult thing to manage when all your messages can be quite different.
And it's a weird one because I find engagement, it's another one of those words that's sort of changed meaning since the internet because of all the stats and things that you can track, especially in marketing, the different stats, and on every different social platform, they call everything slightly differently. So you've got friends and follows and likes and all that kind of thing. And engagement has become, it means they clicked and watched a video, or they watched a video for 3 seconds means that they were engaged, and you're like, really? Did they engage? Did it link with them on some sort of level? Did they understand what we were talking about? Is that something we can actually measure?
Yeah, people say to me, I see you guys everywhere, and I think, but you're not liking or commenting. But that's still great that I'm getting out there. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's quite a hard one to justify to your boss on ROI.
Yeah.
I actually, in terms of jargon, I pulled out a good one the other day because I said that we can measure the ROI of our CSR KPIs.
Wow.
For AAI.
Yeah.
So, and that makes sense, but for some people, they would just go completely cross-eyed.
That could mean so many things.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is taking abbreviations and just making up something else.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so I would have to come up with a whole new sentence for that, just to wind you up.
Please don't. I don't need that. That's not good for my mental health.
Right, go on then.
Okay. Most interesting fact. This is the big one. It ties into the Startup Summit. A fact that says that I think it was 93% of startups are still done by men, which is actually I find it quite a sort of horrible fact. Whether it's like institutionally that women aren't being driven to start their own companies or something like that. It's it's interesting, but I also feel like it's quite troubling. Like, what aren't we doing to enable women to be able to start their own companies?
I always wonder where those facts come from,
and whether they're actually true. But
I'm sure
It's
it
my
will be.
fact.
I'm not discrediting it, but you know how you get statistics, and sometimes statistics, it's like if you've ever read that book that I now can't remember the name of. Someone called Ben wrote it, which doesn't narrow it down at all.
Ben.
It was about, demything statistics. Anyway, if I remember later, I'll tag it. So how you generate statistics and how you generate meaning from them doesn't necessarily correlate with the meaning that was actually inferred.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be 93% of startups are started by men. Does that mean that they weren't co-founded by women? Does that mean that there wasn't anyone else involved in that?
Yeah, so it's like, how did they quantify?
Yeah,
the
where
fact?
is that? Where is that from? Good question.
Or maybe lots of women
everything.
are starting their own businesses, but just not calling them startups and moving around in their own space.
Yeah, that's very true.
For who we work with, I work with a lot of powerful, exciting, dynamic women, not charismatic. And I see that a lot. But what I also see is senior women helping other younger women to succeed. And there's something called the Elevate Network, which is for professional women, and their motto is "Lift as you climb." And I suppose it's a reaction to maybe women being kept down, or the perception that strong women don't want other women to succeed. And it's something to give something back and help encourage more entrepreneurialism in females. So there's a lot of good stuff happening, but maybe they're just not making the right noise or being aggressive enough to get investment and taken to the next stage.
Yeah.
Even just ticking the right box.
Exactly, in some questionnaire.
It's crazy. I don't know. Right. A task that has taken longer than you thought this week. Oh, saved by the bell. I'm going to have to answer it anyway, aren't I? A task that has taken longer than you thought this week. Preparing for an assessment, I think. We always one of the first things that we do as a business with any of our clients is assess their marketplace, their business in terms of their goals and what they want to achieve, where they want to go to, and what they're standing for, so that we can then provide a better idea of how we can help them work out where we can support them and how we can help them develop. And we always kind of give a certain amount of time to different bits of tasks, but I always get far too involved in them. I'm like, oh, but this is really interesting. I think this week we did one for a client, and it was on the journeys through the website and where people are falling off at certain points. And you can get stuck down a rabbit hole looking at those statistics. And you're like, but why are they leaving there? They might just be, maybe they needed the toilet. Who knows? But always get really hooked up into that. So that took longer than I thought this week, but to the benefit, I think. It's probably better to spend more time on it than less.
I generally find that everything takes longer than you think it's going to in business.
Definitely.
Especially with writing copy and making info sheets. If there's stakeholders that need to come in and cross the T's and dot the lowercase J's, it can just go through so many hands, and it's upsetting and frustrating, but it's just a fact of life. Yeah,
approvals can take a while. So thank you. That brings us to the end of our third episode of Future Simple Friday Live. Thank you very much. It looks as though no one watched it live. Yay, well done. Because that would have freaked us out. We would have spotted the little one come up in the corner and we'd have been like, oh my God, someone's watching us. At least in hindsight, we don't need to know. So that is us for another week. Next week it will be just me and Adam again, and then the week after that we've got Suzanne True from FX1 coming in to speak to us about innovation. It has been great having you, Nick. Thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you.
And have a great weekend, everyone.